Hey there, in this video I'm going to show you how to properly hinge. Now when you're doing any kind of deadlift motions, motions that really involve movement around the hip, it can be tricky to kind of differentiate when our hips are moving versus when our knees are moving. Squats involve our knees a lot more, deadlifts involves our hips a lot more, so I'm going to teach you how to hinge in this video so that you're properly moving your hips for these exercises so that we can really ensure that we are working the correct muscles, that we are protecting our back, and doing all the things necessary to make it a great exercise. Now I am going to show a stiff-legged deadlift, an exercise that uses a lot of hinge at the hips, and I'm just going to show you without any kind of weight. I think this is a great way to learn the exercise and the movement before we add on intensity or before we add on any kind of load. So when we are in a stiff-legged deadlift position, we want toes to be facing forward, feet nice and straight, a nice soft bend through the knees. Now because this motion is happening mainly through our hips, our knees are going to stay in that soft position the entire time. So I want you to keep mind of that. This is not an exercise or a movement that is dependent on the knees, it is more dependent on the hips. So feel that out a little bit. Just bend your knees a couple times. Okay, that's what that feels like. Now bend your hips a couple times. That's what that feels like. It does take a little bit of time to get used to this, so rest assured, if you don't have it quite yet, just take your time learning this. So what we're going to do, shoulders are going to come nice and back, palms are going to be on our thighs, nice soft bend through the knees. Again, check your feet, make sure everything's looking good. Chin is tucked, shoulders nice and back, core nice and tight. We are just going to slide our fingers down our thighs. Now, as you do this, I want you to create the movement through the hips, okay? So in order for our fingertips to go further down towards the knee, we need to push our hips back. Now imagine if there was a wall or a door or something, you're trying to kick it out with your butt, okay? So sliding down, pivoting through the hips, knees stay softly bent, sliding all the way down. Now keep in mind, as I do this, I'm not reaching forward with my shoulders, okay? That's a key difference here. We want to make sure that shoulders are locked in, palms are flat on our thighs. The only thing that is creating that movement is our hips. So hips come back, shoulders stay back, so back is nice and flat. In the hips, core nice and tight. We get to a point where we feel a nice stretch through our hamstrings, back is nice and flat, knees have a soft bend, then we pivot back up, squeezing through our glutes, standing up, core nice and tight. A couple more times, correct yourself here, really try and squeeze those shoulders back before you do any kind of movement. So we've contracted our shoulders, core is nice and tight, chin is tucked in, we're sliding down. Imagine that wall or that door you're trying to kick behind you. Back stays nice and flat, knees have a soft bend. Notice my head's not sticking up or down, it's nice and neutral. Sliding down, core nice and tight. Coming up. You will know you have the right position when you feel a nice stretch through your hamstrings, knees are staying relatively still, and back is staying nice and flat. It's really important that we keep that back flat in this position, otherwise we're putting unnecessary strain on our lower back, especially as we start to carry some weights. So as you get more familiar with that hinge position, really making sure that shoulders are back, chest is upright, core is tight, so that our back is protected throughout that entire exercise. It is a little bit tricky, a lot of things to coordinate, but I am here for you. If you need any help with that, if you want me to take a look at your form and give you some tips, absolutely I can do that. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this was helpful.